and a financial expert, Tom Maioli. Tom, good to see you. Thanks for being with us. There's a lot to talk about, but I just wanted your first reactions to this 7% figure that we got today about inflation. It's the highest in 40 years. What does it mean for the American consumer?
Well, listen, the consumer right now is on its back right now. They're crushed. And you know what? Here's the interesting part about it is 7% is not going to become 14%. At some point, there's a saturation rate of inflation, and I think we're getting close to it. I think the consumer is not going to bear the brunt of any future increases. It may be de minimis, it may be 0.5%, 2%, 1%, but it's not going to be another 7%.
And so I just want to read what these percentages are in a lot of these goods and commodities that so many of us purchase on a day-to-day basis. Motor fuel, Tom, is up 50%. Fuel oil, 41%. Crazy. Used cars and trucks, 37%. Crazy. Car and truck rentals, 36%. Hotels and motels, 28%. And so, with this inflation number, is the supply chain issues, are they concurrent issues? Are they happening at once?
Oh, no, they're all happening at once. Clearly, the supply chain issues are driving all of this process. It's all about supply and demand. It's economics 101. Listen, at some point during this year, it may be late 2022, maybe into 23, supply chain issues are going to start easing up. But I have to tell you, right now we're in a crunch. There are no supplies, demand is high, and that's what's causing the inflation. But we're not going to get 7 and then 14 and 21. We're going to get 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5. So I think we're at the peak right now. I think what you're seeing right now is what, the peak of what consumers are going to have to absorb. And I understand the Fed's desire to hedge inflation by increasing interest rates, but I don't think you're going to see 4 increases this year. I think you may see 3. I think they may be an 8th, not a quarter.
Tom, I just want to read from a statement that Lael Brainerd will be making in front of the Senate tomorrow. She's the nominee for vice chair of the Fed. She says inflation is too high.
Yeah, by the way, she's a friend of mine, and yeah, absolutely. And tell me what she has to say.
No, her statement in her prepared remarks she'll give tomorrow, she says inflation is too high and working people around the country are concerned about how far their paychecks will go. She says our monetary policy is focused on getting inflation back down to 2% while sustaining a recovery that includes everyone. She says this is our most important task. She says that is the Fed's most important task at this hour.
Yes. And it is. You know what? Listen, the Fed's focused exactly where they need to be focused. But the reality of it is this is not a Fed issue. This is not an interest rate issue. This is a supply chain issue. As soon as the supply chain eases up and we can get product through the ports and we can start manufacturing products so that we can produce things like cars and televisions and computers, pricing power is going to go down. The people who are selling these products are not going to have the pricing power that they have today, and things are going to level out.
Tom, speaking of supply chain issues, the members of the Biden administration, including the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, yesterday was at the Port of Long Beach. He says that issues are easing up. But then, of course, we're getting news out of China. And, of course, they have this COVID zero mentality, COVID zero philosophy, if you will, putting entire cities on lockdown. And, of course, some of these cities are port cities. What do you make of that? Will that increase some of these problems over the long haul?
Well, listen, clearly there's a dichotomy and a diversity versus what the U.S. thinks and what China thinks. China is clearly into shutting everything down because they want to control the U.S. They want to shut down our operations. They want to shut down our ports. They want to shut down our manufacturing. They want to shut down the consumer. The U.S. is obviously clearly on a different path. But the reality of it is it's somewhere in the middle. China can't shut us down because if they shut us down, they're going to have no economy. You know, we're 80% of their GDP. We buy 80% of the products that the U.S. produces from China. So they have to keep it going, but they want to squeeze us is what they want to do, and they're doing it. They're doing it as we speak. You know, but in 2000, at the end of 2022, early 2023, you're going to see a release of this. The U.S. is gearing up right now, and you know, thank God for President Trump. You know, he put these things in place. You know, obviously, I'm not a Biden supporter, but I'm a President Trump supporter. He put these things in place. We're creating manufacturing of chips and things that we need to produce our own products. We're bringing it back to the U.S. And in 2023, you're going to see some of that break loose. And as that breaks loose, you're going to create competition, and you're going to create the supply is going to increase. The demand is going to stay in place because clearly the U.S. economy is strong, right? That's why we're talking about inflation and interest rates rising. But you're going to see production continue to increase, which is going to drive down pricing, and we're going to be back to normalization.
Tom, last question for you. I want to talk about jobs. We got the jobs numbers on Friday. The unemployment rate now down
Yes.
to 3.9%.
Yes.
Help me figure this out. The job market is flush with openings.
Yes.
The unemployment
Yes.
rate is down to really almost pre-pandemic levels, yet inflation persists. Help me make sense of that.
Well, listen, honestly, it's quite simple. It's economics 101. I'm not a Harvard grad, but it's pretty economics 101. It's pretty simple. Right now, what's going on is corporations don't want to hire, even though there's jobs available. They don't want to hire because they don't have demand. And they don't have the demand because the supply is not there. If the supply starts kicking in, the demand is there. We'll be able to fill the demand, and we'll be able to fill the jobs. Right now, what's going on is the demand is there, but the supply is not there. So we don't want to hire and have this expense that has no value to our corporation because we can't get a return on investment.
All right. Lots to cover on this Wednesday night. Tom Maioli, we appreciate your time. We'll talk to you again.
Yes, thanks for having me. Good to see you.
All right.